Some aquatic habitat. Ocean. We already discussed how fish are adapted to live in the sea. Many other sea animals have streamlined bodies to help them move easily in water. There are some sea animals like squid and octopus which do not have this streamlined shape. They stay deeper in the ocean, near the stable, and catch and prey that moves towards them. However, when they move in water, they make their body shape streamlined. These animals have gills to help them use oxygen dissolved in water. There are some sea animals like dolphin, whale that do not have gills. They breathe in air through nostril or bosslets that are located on the upper part of their heads. They allow them to breathe in air. When they swim near the surface of water, they can stay inside the water for a long time without breathing. They come out to the surface from time to time to breathe it in air. Did you ever see this interesting activity of dolphin in television programs or film on ocean life? Pond and lakes. Have you seen plant growing in ponds, lake, river, even some drain? Go on field trip to nearby pond if possible and try to observe the kind of plant that are seen there. Observe the leaves, stem and root of this plant. Some of these plants have their root fixed in the soil below the water. Some aquatic plants float on water, some have their root fixed in the soil and the bottom. Some aquatic plants are submerged in water. In terrestrial plant, roots normally play a very important role in the absorption of nutrients and water from the soil. However, aquatic plants' roots are much reduced in size and their main function it is to hold the plant in place. The stem of these plants are long, hollow and light. The stem grow up to the surface of water while the leaves and flower float on the surface of water. Some aquatic plants are submerged in water. All parts of such plant are underwater. Some of these plants have narrow and thin ribbon-like leaves. These can bend in the flowering water. In the some submerged plant leaves are often highly divided through which the water can easily flow without damaging them. Frogs usually live in pond. Frogs can stay both inside the water as well as move on land. They have strong back legs that help them in leaping or catching their prey. They have webbed feet which help them in swim in water. We have discussed only few common animal and plant compared to the wide variety that lives in different habitat. You may have also noticed the very wide variety in plant around you. When you prepared a herbarium as a part of the suggest activity in chapter 4, imagine the kind of variety that you could see in the herbarium of leaves of plant from all regions of the earth. Characteristics of organism. We went on journey through different habitat, discussed many plant and animal. In activity 1, we listed object, plant, animals found in different surroundings. Suppose we stop a while and think which example in our list are living. Let us think of example from a forest, trees, creeper, small and big animal, bird, snakes, insect, rocks, soil, water, air, dry leaves, dead animal, mushroom, moss, maybe only some of the objects that are present in the forest. Which of these are living? Things of object that you can see around you and this moment and group theme as living and non-living in some of case it is easy for us to know. For example, we know that objects like chair or table are not alive. Paheli was reading this rhymes from complete nonsense written by Edward Lear. Said the table to the chair, you can hardly be aware how I suffer from the heat and from the chill on my feet. If we took a little walk, we might have little talk. Pray let us take the air. Said the table to the chair, said the chair or the table. Now you know we are not able. How foolish you talk. When you know we cannot walk, said the table with a sigh. It can do no harm to try. I wish many legs as you. Why cannot we walk on two? Paheli and Bujo found the poem very funny because they know that a chair or table is not alive and it cannot talk or walk. Chair, table, stone, or coins are not alive. Similarly, we do now that we are alive and so are all the people of the world. We also see animals around us that are so full of life. Dogs, cat, monkey, squirrel, insect, and many others. How do we know that something is living? Often it is not so easy to decide. We are told that plants are living, but they do not move like a dog or pigeon. On their other hand, a car or bus can move. Still, we consider them as non-living plant. Animals appear to grow in size with time, but then at times clouds in the sky also seem to grow in size. Does it mean that clouds are living snow? So how does one disgusting between living and non-living things? Do living things have some common characteristic that make them very different from the non-living? You are wonderful example of living beings. What characteristic do you have which make you different from a non-living thing? List a few of these characteristics in your notebook. Look at your list and mark those characteristics that you have listed which may also be found in animal or plant. Some of these characteristics are perhaps common to all living things. Do all organisms need food? Early we learned that all living things need food and how essential it is to animals and to us. We have also learned that plants make their own food by the process of photosynthesis. Animals depend on plant or other animals of their food. Food gives organisms the energy needed for them to grow. Organisms also needed energy for other life processes that go on inside them. Do all organisms show growth? Does the kurta you had 4 years back still fit you? You cannot wear it anymore. It is not you must have grown taller during this year. You may not realize it, but you are growing all the time, and few more years you will become an adult. Young ones of animals also grow into adult. You would surely have. A babies grow into an adult. Notice pups grow into adults, a chick hatches from an eggs grow into a hen, a cock. Plant also grow. Look around you and see a few plant of particular type. Some are very small and young, some are bigger. They may all in different stage of growth. Look at the plants after a few days and weeks. You may find that some of them have grown in size. Growth seems to be the common to all living things. Do you think non-living things show growth? Do all organisms repair? Can we live without breathing? When we inhale, the air moves from outside to the inside of our body when we breathe it out there. Air moves from inside our body to outside. Breathing is part of process called respiration. In respiration, some of oxygen of air we breathe in is used by the body. We breathe out carbon dioxide produced in this process. The process of breathing in animals like cows, buffaloes, dogs, and cat is similar to human. Observe any one of these animals while they are taking their rest and notice the movement of their abdomen. This so movement indicate that they are breathing. Respiration is necessary for all living organisms. It is through respiration that the body finally obtains energy from the food it takes. Some animals may have different mechanisms for the exchange of gases, which is a part of respiration process. For example, earthworms breathe through their skin. Fish, we have learned, have gills for using oxygen dissolved in water. The gills absorb from the air dissolved in water. Do plant also respire? Exchange of gases in plant mainly take place through the leaves. The leaves take in air through tiny pores in them and use the oxygen. They give out a carbon dioxide to the air. We learn that inside sunlight, plants use carbon dioxide to produce food and give out oxygen. The amount of oxygen released in the process of food preparations by plant is much more than the oxygen they use a respiration. Respiration in plant takes place day and light. Do all organisms respond to stimuli? How do you respond if you suddenly step on sharp object like a thorn while walking barefoot? How do you feel when you see or think about your favorite food? You suddenly move from the dark place into a bright sunlight. What happens? Your eyes shut themselves automatically for a moment till they adjust to the changes bright surrounding your favorite food, bright light, and thrown in the above two situations are some example of changes in your surrounding. All of us respond immediately to such changes in our surrounding that they makes us respond to them are called stimuli. Do other animals also respond to stimuli? Observe the behavior of the animals when food is served to them. Do you find them the suddenly becoming active on seeing the food when you moves toward a words? What does it do? While animals run away when bright light is flashed towards them. Similarly, cockroaches begin to move to their hiding place if a light in the kitchen is switched on at night. Can you give some more example of response of animal to stimuli? Do plant also response to stimuli? Flower of some plant bloom only at the night. In some plant of flower close after sunset. In some plant like mimosa commonly known as a touch me not, leaves closed or fold when someone touches them. These are some example of response of plant towards such changes in their surroundings. Place an potted plant in room a little away from a window through which sunlight enter. Come some time during the day. Continue watering the plant for a few days. Does the plant grow upright like plants out in the open? Note the direction in which it bends safe. Plant respond to light. It is not growing upright. Do you think this may be response to the some stimulus? All living things respond to changes around them. Living organism and excretions. All organisms need food. Not all the food that is eaten it is a completely used. Only a part of it is to utilized by the body. What happens to the rest? This has to be moved from the body as waste. Our body produce some wastage in other life process also. The process of getting rid of wastage by the organism is known as excretions. Do plants also excrete? They do the but not as a seen animals. The mechanism in plant are little different. Some plants find it possible to store the waste product within their parts in way that they do not harm the plant as a whole. Some plants remove waste product as a excretion. Excretion is another characteristic common to all organisms. Do all organisms reproduce their own kind? Have you ever seen the nest of some birds like pigeon? Many birds lay their eggs in the nest. Some of the eggs hatch and young birds some out of them birds lay in which after hatching produce. Animals reproduce their own kind. Their mode of reproduction may be different in different animals. Some animals produce their young ones through egg. Some animals give birth to the young ones. Plant also reproduce like animal. Plant also differ in their mode of the reproduction. Many plant reproduce through the seed. Plant reproduce seed. There are some animals which give birth to the young ones. Seed from plants germinated into new plant, which can germinate and grow into new plants. Some plant also absorb or reproduce through the parts other than seed. For example, a part of potato with a bud grow into a new plant. Plants are also reproduced through the cutting. Would you like to grow a plant in this way yourself? Take a cutting from a rose and mehndi plant, fixed in the soil and water it regularly. What do you observe after few days? It may not be easy to grow plant from their cutting. Do not be disappointed if your cutting does not grow. Talk to the gardener if possible on the care to be given to cutting to make them grow into plants. Living things reproduce more of their own kind of through the reproduction. It takes place in many different ways from the different organism. Do all organism move? In chapter 6, we discussed the various ways in which animals move. They move from one place to another and also show other body movement. What about plant? Do they also move? Plants are generally enhanced in soil. They do not move from one place to another. However, various substances like water, minerals, and the food synthesized by them from one part of the plant others. Have you noticed any other kind of movement in plants, opening or closing of flower? Do you recall how some plants show movement in response to certain stimuli? We also have some non-living things moving, of course, a bus, car, and small pieces of paper, cloud, and so on. In there, something different in this movement from the movement of the living beings. There is such a variety of living organisms, but all of them show some common characteristics. As we have discussed, yet another common characteristic is that living beings die because organisms die. Particular type of organism Particular organism can survive over thousands of years only if they reproduce their own kind. One single organism may die without ever reproducing, but the types of organism can exist only if there is reproduction. We see that all living things seem to have some common characteristic. They all need food, respond to the stimuli, reproduce, sow, movement, grow, and die. Do we find some non-living things that also show some of these characteristics? Car, bicycle, clock, and the water river move. The moon moves in the sky. A cloud grow in size right in front of our eyes. Can you such a things be called livings? We ask ourselves to this object also show all the other characteristic living things. In general, something that is a living may have all the characteristic that we have discussed, while non-living things may not show all these characteristic at same time. In this always true, do we always find that living things definitely show all the characteristic of living that we have discussed? Do we always find that non-living things may show only some of these characteristics and never all of them? Do understand a little better. Let us look the specific example. Consider any seed. Say moon, it is a living, it can stay in the soil for a month and not show any growth or some of the other characteristics of like how we bring the same seed and plant in soil and water and turns into the whole plant. Did you see the need food dye it excrete grow and reproduce when it was in the soaps for many months? We see that there can be cases when we cannot easily say that a thing has all the characteristic that we have discussed for it to be called living. What then is life? Push your hand deep inside sack of wheat. Do you found it is a warm inside? There is a some of heat being produced inside the sack of wheat. The seed respire and in that process give out some heat. We see that respiration is a process that takes place in the seed, even when some of the other life process may not be very active. It may not be very easy to answer our questions. What then is a life? However, looking at all the diversity of living beings around us, we can conclude that life is a beautiful adaptation, aquatic habitat, biotic components, creation, growth, habitat, living, reproductions, space, stimulus. Summary: the surroundings. Thank you for watching.